Hello and welcome to another version of knife reviews. We're going to be reviewing a great knife here from Enrique Pen. It's called the Lanny's Clip Flipper, and I purchased this knife directly from Enrique at Blade Show 2017, and it is a great knife. He really wasn't on my radar screen as needing to get a grail knife, but after talking with him and touching his knife and flipping with it, I just had to have it. And we talked a little bit, and I spoke to him a little in Spanish, and he said, "Oh, you speak Spanish?" So we just talked in Spanish, and because I was bilingual, he knocked $50 off the price of the knife, so that's kind of fun. Enrique Pena is from Laredo, Texas, and he makes knives and has been making knives since 2005. He started in the slip joint knives and was taught by guys that are primarily slip joint knife makers like Armando Flores, Bill Ruppel, and Rusty Preston. The Lanny's clip is made in both a slip joint and a flipper configuration. The flipper is made in versions of both a frame lock with a faux bolster, and I'll show a picture of it here in the corner, and a bolster lock. The bolster lock version is made in a larger 3 1/4 inch blade and the smaller 3-inch blade version, which I'll show in the picture also. Let's talk about the specifications of the knife. The blade is 3 1/4 inches long. Ooh, and it's a beautiful blade also. The handle is 4 1/4 inches long. A total knife length is 7.5 inches long. The weight of the knife in this configuration is 3.8 ounces. I'm going to show you some other knives for comparison. We'll start out with the Ontario Carter Prime, which is a little larger than this knife, and the Kaiser Dukes, which is a little smaller. We'll look at the Benchmade 940, which is a little bit longer, and then the Benchmade Mini Grip Tillion, which is a little smaller. And lastly, we'll look at the Olamic Wayfarer 24/7, which also is a little larger of a knife. The blade of the Lanny's Clip Flipper is made in a clip point configuration and has a high hollow ground. It has a hand-rubbed satin finish. I'll get a macro here so you can see a little bit better how beautiful this blade looks with that hand-rubbed satin finish. And there's swedging on the tip, but there's no jimping on the spine. The metal the blade is made of is CPM 154. Some people wonder, is CPM 154 and 154 CM the same metal? The 154 CM is used on a lot of less expensive knives, like the Benchmade, for example. The Mini Grip Tillion has a 154 CM. Are they the same? The answer is no, but they come from the same company, which is Crucible Industries. CPM 154 is the powdered metallurgy version of 154 CM and has a finer carbide structure. I'm going to bring up a graph here to show you a little bit about the nature of the two metals. Now realize that this graph is released by the manufacturer. It's not one company trashing the product of another company. Crucible Steel makes and sells both of these steels, so it should be representative and accurate. As you can see, the two steels are comparable in wear resistance, but CPM 154 is far superior in both toughness and grindability. It's also easier to polish and has better corrosion resistance. So you get the idea. CPM 154 is different steel and far better steel than CM 154. I just want to also point out on the edge of the graph there is noted D2 steel. There are a couple makers, and I don't want to mention their names, but you guys know who they are, that stay in the old school D2 steel, and there are much newer, better powdered metals that have better characteristics, but I think they just get used to something and its change comes hard. Let's talk about the method of deployment. This is a flipper, and I'll show you the flipper tab. It has a little bit of jimping, and this is a flipper tab that's completely binary. It either opens completely and opens fast, or it stays closed. No matter how softly you press that, the detent is such that it is flying out there, and it flips fast, and there's never a flipper fail the way he has the detent so perfectly honed. The handle is a bead blasted titanium, as is the clip, and then it has some carbon fiber overlays that are just beautiful. I'll give a macro here of those. The back spacer, as well as the hardware, is made of titanium and has anodizing. And there's a gear pattern, as you can tell, in the back spacer, where you can get some traction if you use a reverse grip. Because the back spacer is so minimalist, it has more or less a flow-through open design for easy cleaning. And as I've mentioned, the hardware is blue anodized also. The pivot runs on steel caged bearings and is as smooth as glass. The lock is a bolster lock, and it's a combination between a frame lock and a liner lock. It's beefy like a frame lock, yet the lock part is on the bolster. And I'll show you a picture in the upper right hand corner of the 3-inch. I have the 3 1/4 inch here before you. Whenever they cut down the size of the knife, the carbon fiber part was about the same. They shortened the bolster part, so instead of having this long bolster lock interface, it's a shorter bolster lock interface. The pocket clip is a 3D titanium pocket clip that is right-handed, tip up only. Looks very elegant. And the ergonomics of the knife. Basically, the handle of the knife is a pretty straight handle, and there's not much that can go wrong with that. The clip doesn't provide a hot spot. It just feels good in your hand. The action of the knife is wonderful. It flips out hard. It returns to its place with a little bit of shaking, and it is a wonderfully smooth action. So what are my overall impressions of the Enrique Pen Lanny's Clip Flipper? I absolutely love it. Are there opportunities for improvement? Honestly, I don't know how he could make this any better. Maybe he could do some interior milling on the carbon fiber or the liners to make it a little lighter, but this has just got excellent fit and finish, and it's a beautiful knife. What do I like about it? I like the blade. I love a clip point blade, first of all, but he has this hand-rubbed satin clip point blade that is absolutely gorgeous. I wouldn't change it a bit. And I also like the detent. It flips perfectly every time. I like the flipper tab configuration. It's comfortable, yet you get some traction with it. And the knife overall is just a beautiful knife. Look at that knife. The carbon fiber scales, the anodized titanium hardware, and the anodized titanium backspacer are just gorgeous. The fit and finish of the bolster and the bolster lock are beautiful. The 3D milled pocket clip. I like everything about it. In short, the Enrique Pen Lanny's Clip Flipper is a work of art. If you can afford it, you should have one.